Nepal, a small country nestled amongst the Himalayas, is popularly known for Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain peak. But did you know Nepal has unfortunately also become synonymous with transitional governments? Hello and welcome to New India Junction. I'm Richa Dwivedi, and today we are going to look at some of the recent political developments in Nepal, our neighbor to the north. In Nepal, a lasting government has been somewhat of an elusive subject. If we look at some recent history, it's easy to see the frequent shifts in power, be it the monarchy or the parliament. It was only in 1990, following a massive people's movement or a Jan Andolan, when the demand for a democratic system of governance became one of the top priorities for the Nepali people. In less than a decade, however, the movement had snowballed into a people's war against the monarchy. This armed struggle, which had communist and Maoist parties at the forefront, proved to be a birthing ground for several political leaders of modern-day Nepal. Yes, you guessed it right. It was here that leaders like KP Sharma Oli and Pushpa Kumar Dahal Prachanda took the center stage. But even until 2006, at the time of signing the comprehensive peace agreement between the government and communist leaders like Prachanda to end the armed struggle, Nepal still did not have a constitution formalizing the democratic process. In 2008, the newly elected Constituent Assembly abolished the 2 centuries-old monarchy and set about its task of drafting the new constitution. But it was not to be. Nepal only got a constitution in 2015, which finally paved the way for democratic elections. This was also the time around which widespread protests in low-lying areas in Nepal shook the Himalayan country. A resulting blockade allowed several leaders to blame India for inciting the protests and gain massive popularity. During this period, a new left alliance emerged as the game changer. The Communist Party of Nepal, unified Marxist-Leninist faction, and the Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist faction, merged for the provincial and national polls to form the Nepal Communist Party. This coalition enabled the NCP to secure a 2/3 majority with KP Sharma Oli as the 41st Prime Minister. It is interesting to note that until that moment, 37 different individuals had held the same office, so it's safe to say that getting comfortable was highly unlikely. Oli had also entered into a gentleman's agreement with Prachanda, the leader of the other faction of the new coalition, for a shared chairmanship of the party as well as 2.5 years each as the Prime Minister. This brings us to today. After assuming office, Oli's popularity had skyrocketed. However, while bringing out new schemes to raise the standard of living for Nepali people, Oli also started to bring the country's investigative agencies directly under the Prime Minister's office. After Oli refused to relinquish the office of the Prime Minister as promised, the ruling Communist Party neared an inevitable split. And that is precisely when this Chinese influence came to the force. In December 2020, Oli hastily promulgated 2 ordinances and in quick succession advised the president to dissolve the parliament. Interestingly, the Nepali president, Bidya Devi Bhandari, has been known to favor Oli due to their shared political affiliations. A dissolved parliament effectively meant that Oli would continue as a prime minister running a caretaker government until the next elections. However, this was again not to be. In February this year, a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court had declared that the dissolution was null and void. In the reconvened parliament, however, Prime Minister Oli maintained that the parliament, the source of power for any democratic government, actually restricted his government from performing its duties. You should know that by this time, Oli's gambit had backfired. Not only had his hold on the Prime Minister's chair weakened, he was also removed as the chairman for the Communist Party. In the vote of confidence that followed, Oli's faction came up with only 93 votes against 124 opposed to him. But President Bhandari still allowed him to continue, meaning a second vote of confidence. In May, Sher Bahadur Deuba from the Nepali Congress Party submitted a list of 149 MPs who supported his claim to form a government. Not only was he supported by his own party, but all factions opposed to Oli had now united against him. Oli also submitted a claim to form the government. This time, President Bhandari dissolved the parliament and appointed Oli as the head of the government. The leaders supporting Deuba now approached Nepal's Supreme Court with a joint petition. The apex judicial authority then ruled in their favor, again dismissing the dissolution and in a humiliating directive, mandating the appointment of Deuba as the new Prime Minister. And just yesterday, Deuba won the vote of confidence and comfortably got 165 votes, thus averting a general election. But what remains a matter of concern is how the constitutional mechanism in the country swiftly fell apart and in some cases was conveniently sidestepped. We are aware of how many foreign powers have brought in their influence. In case of a power vacuum, will they not double their effort to seize control? However, indirectly, at a time when every nation across the world needs strong leadership to help people tide over the menace of the COVID-19 pandemic, Nepal's new Prime Minister has promised to focus on COVID-19. It will be interesting to see how the new leadership helps the Himalayan nation tackle the menace. If you liked this video, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to New India Junction. Namaste.